Hello, friends, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Tyler Nichols. I almost said I'm Lance Belchek, but that's this guy.
That's the other guy. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. We're really in the Halloween season right now, and there's been a lot of releases this October, so I am all about it.
What's your favorite so far?
I don't, that's a tough one. I really enjoyed Totally Killer from Amazon Prime. Hulu's The Mill is also really, really fun. Not even I say fun all the time, and it's not a fun movie. It's like it's a biting social commentary. It's just on workplace culture, which I like, just the poisonous relationship that people can have with work. And I think it's really, really poignant for 2023 with workers' rights being such a big thing. And then there's a movie that I think, because this should air about this time, it might actually be airing, it might be today. Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. It is this movie it's like this horror comedy. They call it a satanic comedy, I think is what it's called. And it is the weirdest movie, and I loved every single second of it. I was actually able to talk to Barbara Crampton for that film, so it's I can't say, I don't know. It's not gonna be for everyone's cup of tea, but it was so right up my alley because it was weird as shit. So I thought, in the midst of all of this horror watching that I was doing, I kind of realized that there's been some films, and honestly, this kind of came about too from the last video we did on the ending of Spiral. And we both kind of had a shift in opinion in terms of when we first saw the film and then when we did that video. So I wanted to talk about horror films that we've done 180s on, whether that is a film that we saw and hated and then grew to love, or film we love that then grew to hate.
Please. Let's see what do you got, man?
So there was this movie from 2006 that I was really looking forward to, that I then got to somehow see like early. I got like a screener online. I think I torrented it off of, or got it off of like LimeWire or something, like
Oh,
because
Limar,
it
yeah.
was way back then. And so I had a copy of this well before this was ever like actually released, because this had a really like tenuous release. And I am talking about All the Boys Love Mandy Lane. Now, this is a film that I think it was originally 2006, but then came out finally in 2008. It's starring Amber Heard, everyone's favorite actress, and she is at her absolute hottest here, and this is before we knew how crazy she is. So I think that that probably had some kind of influence on my teenage self. And I don't even want to say that the movie is like super bad, but this used to be the movie that I used to like tell people they need to see. I watched it a couple years ago, and it was just like, I mean, it's still, I mean, it's a slasher movie with some dark moments, but like it's just sloppy and doesn't, and Amber Heard is awful. Just awful. Like, I kind of didn't notice it when I had seen it originally, because I guess again, just saw a hot girl. She was my type. Like, so I'm like, yeah, I'm all about it. Have you ever seen All the Boys Love Mandy Lane?
So I did. I actually remember reading, I believe, the Arrows review, Mr. John Fallon's, and I remember I couldn't find it for a while. I don't know if he got to see it early or what happened, but I just remember it's one of those like House of a Thousand Corpses, one of them where like I was hearing about it way before I ever saw it. And it was one of those I can't wait for it to come around. And I remember when I finally got to see it, I think I was in my first apartment. I rented it or somehow got a hold of it. My friends and I watched it. And I was like, hey guys, it's been getting great reviews. It's this is a lost gem. And my experience was it's okay. I never saw it again, so maybe I would have a different opinion. But after your talk, I doubt it. I wasn't impressed, but again, I was also hyped because this got a lot of good buzz.
But Jonathan Liebesman is the director, who, I mean, he went on to do like 50-50 and Warm Bodies, which I really enjoyed, with Nicholas Holt. It's like a weird romantic comedy zombie film. Very, very whimsical, very strange. There's like never been a zombie movie like it before or since. It's very weird. But he's an interesting director. And so it's definitely a stain on his filmography in a big way.
Do you think it's age? Because I don't really know. I don't know. You don't have to say it online.
It's
Obviously, the age
just
you where you saw it, or just like your tastes matured, or
I
what?
think my tastes have matured a bit, but then I also think that it just kind of it has a twist. That's like the big thing. It has a twist. But I think at the time, any movie that had a twist in it, I was like, yeah, this makes it like better. And that just it doesn't. It kind of makes everything else like sloppier because then the boy who did it, like did all the killings, you're like, really? This guy? This guy? I don't know. It just doesn't work. It's meaner than it ever needs to be. I remember there's the killer puts I think his like a shotgun barrel like down the throat of one of the victims. And this is a very like real movie. It's not like a Friday the 13th or a Halloween where where it's like you're in it for the fun kills. It
Yeah.
just felt like mean, which honestly it kind of reminded me of like the kills in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2,
Oh,
which for me they were just like too over the top, and it like where I'm just like, okay, it doesn't work for like the world that they're trying to show us. And yeah, the Rob Zombie Halloween 2 may have been a tease for a future video.
we'll talk that because I know that you may have different opinions. But no, I think it's a fascinating discussion, though. I try to always be as analytical and aware of these things, of like my taste change or my perspective and stuff. And I've had similar things, some a lot quicker than others, but I always try to find out if it's my mood, if it's my tastes, or like if the thing that I love just doesn't hit as hard as I've grown. It's a weird thing. I want to bring up, so we can jump back and forth, of course. I got a couple of random ones, but the one I want to talk to you about is the Funhouse. Toby Hooper. I like Toby Hooper. I do think he has a lot of duds in his filmography, but I would say he has some hits and some stuff that I should be proud of course. I love this as a kid. Nostalgia aside, like it was just a cool little slasher flick with a monster. It's my kind of vibe. I love when you put monsters in anything, so I'm always about it.
Hmm.
In high school, I liked it, and then in my early 20s, I bought this, and it wasn't as good. But I was like, maybe it's my mood. Sometimes you're in a mood. I watched them the other day, which I know that I love, but I was in a grumpy mood, and I was like, I didn't have fun, and I'm like, get out of your fucking head.
I shut movies off if I feel that,
That's smart.
if I'm like, nope, I don't want to then mar this experience. Refuse. Like I shut it off.
I mean, that's smart. I make a little asterisk for my brain, like, stop it. Fuck it. This is on you, buddy. But I watched this, and I'd say, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago. And then I watched it like 5 years ago. And every single time I like it less and less to the point where, I'll be honest, I don't throw movies out, so I'll keep this forever, but I would give this away to a good home. If somebody came over, it's like, oh my God, Funhouse. I'd be like, do you want it? Can you take care of it? Make sure that she stays clean and healthy. Then I would. Honestly, because it takes way too long to get going. I realize that all the characters kind of annoy me. It's weird, but it's not interesting weird. It's just sort of like awkward weird is how I describe it. Like,
Whoa. You don't think you don't think the weird monster man, that is wearing a Frankenstein mask and then takes off the mask to reveal an even more masky face?
That's the thing. The monster looks bad. I love the idea of it. I really do. And at some angles, maybe like during like the fan scene where you barely see it's kind of cool, but man, it looks lame. Everything about it, man. The kills are boring. I guess a younger, more impressionable me maybe held on a little longer. And I'm the kind of guy that I can always admit when something is nostalgic. Like there's movies, and I know I've talked about this off camera, but for instance, like Captain Ron and Weekend at Bernie's, I love so much that I don't give a shit. They'll never be mad at me. It makes me warm. Horror movie wise, I would say the whole Friday the 13th minus Goes to Hell. People are like, oh, 7's boring. It's like, I love it. No, it brings me joy. 8's dry. I love it. It brings me joy. Like those are something I could put on and fall asleep to. And I'll wake up and all night look over and it'll be Jason like stabbing somebody through a spear. And I'm like, hi, everything's okay.
Go back to bed. Like a warm blanket.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
it's weird how that works.
But I want to tie this back to saying that the Funhouse, people can dig it, man. I know it has its own little cult fan base, but I think it's not my movie anymore. And, I've kind of grown out of it.
Well, I think I recommend if you are ever having to watch that film again, try to watch it in the so bad it's good way. I think that it has some potential in that way because that's how I watch it, and I enjoy it in that way.
But don't you think it's a little like a little boring,
It's
a
boring as
little?
shit. It takes a long time to get going.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I feel like So Bad It's Good needs a little more of a
Energy.
boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, like So Bad It's Good. Yeah, you have to have pacing. I mean, at least that's what I think. I got to go back. Then again, I think I do like a lot of not to contradict myself. I do like a lot of bad Full Moon, and Full Moon is not known for like being snappy.
Good
So
taste. Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like Funhouse is one of those movies that you put on at a party that like doesn't have sound where you just like have it on like an old TV. They just like see it random or like, oh, what the fuck? But no one will ever sit down and like actually want to see what's going on. They'll just see bits and pieces. We're like, wait a minute, what's going on? What?
You remind me of like some bars I've been to in Chicago where it's like a horror theme bar, or at least like kind of a cool punk bar where they'll have like a horror movie playing on some old tube TV with no sound. That's what the Funhouse is. It's a bar TV movie with no sound, upper level. I get drunk and randomly look up to then look back down.
Everyone needs a good bar movie, and I think that the Funhouse works for that.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. Do you have a movie, a reverse one by chance, off the cuff, of a movie
Yes,
you hated and grew to love? Okay, I want you to
yes,
jump
I
in.
do. So this is one I think that a lot of I think this is actually I think I echo a feeling of a lot of people on this, and that is Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. This is a film that I used to consider one of the worst movies of all time. I hated it so bad. And then subtly, like over the years, I started realizing of like it's like, yeah, it is like they do some weird shit in it. Like Freddy coming in the real world is such a weird misstep, but it gives us the pool scene. It gives us him escaping out of Jesse. And there's just there's a lot of elements in that that I wish had been utilized again later on. And I think that it just kind of gets kind of just dismissed as the gay movie, which I get, but like Friday the 13th Part 7, which is also the gay movie, which
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think that they have a little something special with them, even if the quality dips at times. Which again, I mean, I still love Friday Part 7, but I'm just saying they're like for me, like the telekinesis bit where I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on with this? Which also with the Freddy's Revenge with the real world stuff, where I'm like, wait, what's going on with this? But it's something where I'm like, it doesn't take me out of the world because it's like, okay, it's a supernatural thing anyway. This is just another element being introduced. I can see you're like,
Well,
what are you
no, I
saying
kept
about
going.
seven?
Yeah, I was waiting, man. I
Tensed
was like,
up.
yeah, I was like, is he crossing the line? You crossing the line? I was ready to jump in, but then he pulled back. I was okay. Here's what if we're at a 4, I'm going to stay at a 4. Okay, that's just a movie I love. But let me say something about 2 though. One, let's get this out of the way. I think it's his best makeup. I think Kevin Yeager did an amazing job, and hopefully he's the guy that did. I think he is.
Yeah.
Freddy's Looking Part 2 is my favorite in terms of how he looks. The red eyes, pronounced brow bone, the teeth, the vibe. I mean, all the weirdness aside, that's awesome. That just objectively is awesome.
Yeah. The voice too, like
Yes.
that so dark and like, which doesn't that disappears. Honestly, even in Dream Warriors, they take it back. It's less demonic.
Yeah, it's just more Robert England
Yeah.
speaking.
Which I love. I love it all. I love all Freddy stuff.
Sure, but
That's
I'm
not
giving you
Jackie
something
Earle
that
Haley.
that works though is out of everything that works. The weirdness. So I always want to say this about like the possession and stuff. Obviously, we would agree on this. They didn't know where they wanted to take Freddy, and they were trying to go in a new direction, and then completely went back. So this is the true black sheep. But I call it the Bowie effect. You call it the catalog effect. I do think people like us, we could be more objective about stuff like this because we get to go through the series at will. Whereas I feel if you live through it, people hold stuff more personal. If you saw all these in theaters, by the time you get to New Nightmare, it's like you spent your whole life. Like you could hold a grudge more. Where I could be like, oh, that was weird. I don't really agree with that. Oh, 3, here's 3. Let's jump onto that. So I do think that helps us, right? I feel a lot of the negativity and the sort of passion that people have for hating Part 2 is, I think a lot of it is kind of like bred into us because most people had to like live through it live and they didn't get over it. Because I didn't like it for a long time, and I felt like I was somewhat influenced by. Everybody's like, ah, man, number two, number two. Then I'd read about it, or like you'd ask people about it. Nobody likes it. Because I never hated it, but I mean, I remember it was the one I revisited the least.
I mean, I would say just to include another film, Friday the 13th Part 5 is a better example than Part 7 in terms of this, where it's like was so dogged by so many different people and myself included back in the day. But now I rank it amongst my favorites in the Friday the 13th series. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that, like, as of right now, we're on 14 years since we've gotten a Friday the 13th film. 14, almost. We're very close to 15, which sucks because it was February 13th, 2009. I think absence makes the heart grow fonder, and so it kind of makes me look back and reevaluate some of those films and then be like, we really didn't realize how good we had it. Where it's like, yeah, just because we don't technically have Jason in like Part 5, I mean, it's the essence of Jason. It is some of the best kills, some of the best progression of kills, like for the story, where it's just so much fun. I think it has the highest body count.
Bad with the body count thing. Well, funny, I was gonna say my entry was going to be Friday the 13th Part 5. This is something I've been guilty of my whole life, and it's something I've been working on, but it's going to be who I am forever. I could just be better, which is if you have a sheeted cover, I don't give you time. If you're not going to try, I'm not going to try. And I think that has the worst cover of anything I've ever seen. It bothers me to this day. And I now really enjoy this movie, but I hate that fucking cover. Weird hockey mask that doesn't ever exist and looks like a toy, a weird white thing.
Oh, the blue. Yeah. The white. It looks like the what's that terrible series?
It looks like a Jason mask where you can't have any rights issues, and God forbid you're going to get sued. So what can we like? I hate it and it makes no sense. And that was a lot of the reason I ever rented it. Yeah. And then I rented it the last because I remember all of them existed. One through Jason Goes to Hell was around when I started getting the Jason. So I just went through all of them and I skipped it, went to last, and it was okay. And this is the exact thing as Funhouse, only reverse. Every time I watch it, I like it more and more. And now I appreciate it for being sleazy. I appreciate the nudity. I appreciate the kills. And it is, Jason. I did a video on the Black Sheep series about why it's good. And I feel bad because half that video is me hitting on Jason Goes to Hell. But the point I was trying to make is we give the wrong hate to the wrong Jason movie. 5 is not Jason. That is fine. But my pitch is this. Up until the dumb twist, and it's a dumb twist, but a twist that I don't give a shit. Whatever. It's dumb, but I still affects me no way. But up until then, they played as Jason. And there's interviews with the actor who goes, I know I'm supposed to be Roy, but I played it like I'm Jason Voorhees. Of course, he busts through fucking doors. He has superhuman strength. It's Jason. Just go with it, man. It gives you everything you want. You want nudity, kills, dumb dialogue, weird plot elements. It's everything you want, man.
And one element that I've only recently started to be really into is Juliet Cummings. She plays Robin in this. It's one of the girls that gets naked. She gets killed when she is up on the bunk bed and like turns around and sees the guy. She's like, I've always enjoyed the Slumber Party Massacre series and like didn't realize until the 4K release came out that she's in Slumber Party Massacre 2, and she's one of the girls that gets all naked in it. And so yeah, and then I was just recently introduced to the Psycho film series, which she is in Psycho 3.
She's the girl that gets in the phone booth.
That stuff too. It's like it just makes me like Part 5 even more because
I didn't connect back to it either. I mean, I didn't even recognize her in Slumber Party Massacre 2. But I'm also oddly a giant Wings fan, so every time I watch that, I'm like, what's her face in Wings? So like I'm more fixated in that, I'm pro Wings people being in horror movies, just so you're aware. That's a thing. That's a big thing of mine. It's a personality trait. Every time I see somebody like it's in a horror movie that's from Wings, I'm like, good, they're getting more work.
I say, other than Steven Weber, I don't really.
The other guy from Wings was in Storm of the Century. Weber was in The Shining. I think Weber's been in more also. Maybe I think it's Tim Daly's his name. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just want the people from Wings to be employed. That's all that I care about.
That's a great hill to die on, I feel.
Welcome to the end screen. Because we have our most popular videos up here, our latest videos over here, our modern reviews up here, and of course, the subscribe button right here, guys. Every little bit counts, and we do appreciate the support.